way back. It might be. It could be. It is. Holy cow. Welcome to another broadcast of Bricks Behind the Ivy.
Hey, Cub fans, welcome to another episode of Bricks Behind the Ivy. Thank you so much to our awesome sponsors, Wrigleyville Sports, the best sports store in Wrigleyville, and Yaggy Road Roasting Company, based in Valpo, Indiana, serving cups of coffee just as special as the moments you drink them in.
Hello, welcome to Bricks Behind the Ivy.
Hey, Brickheads! Welcome to Bricks Behind the Ivy, the podcast built brick by brick for Cub fans by Cub fans. I am Jeff CandidCubs Vergauskis, lifelong Northsider with blue blood in my veins, an old style in hand, and a front row seat to every W flag moment and soul-crushing sweep. Whether the Cubs are steamrolling the NL Central, hopefully this week they do that, or inventing new ways to break our hearts, we'll be here each week to break it all down with stats, stories, and a heavy dose of Cub fan reality. And joining to me today is not just co-host extraordinaire, but mini-me co-host extraordinaire, Mr. Nick Erickson and Pat Erickson.
What's up? What's going on?
Not
Happy
much.
Father's Day out there. I know we're going to be posting this tomorrow, but I think we deserve a week.
Yeah, I think so too. We've gone through a lot. Everyone, all of us dads, and yeah, why not? I think we should get a week. I'm not gonna tell my wife to listen to this episode.
No.
I'll safely say a week when I know she's not hearing it. But
And I figure I'd take a week, but he's probably over here going, yeah, I've dealt with 21 years of lots of Tylenol. That's all right, Pop.
Every week.
Well, I think I heard recently there was lots of Tylenol involved in our recent 21-year-old's weekend.
Yeah, not my proudest moment, but I think it's a rite of passage, especially being the offspring of Pat Erickson here. So,
Does that come with at least a sort of decent Harry Carey impersonation, or is that skip a generation?
you know what? I haven't really tried. I'm gonna have to definitely practice that. I know that all of my friends, it's a thing. Everybody loves his impression. I'm pretty sure there's been inquiries about you doing people's voicemails too.
Oh, yeah. Now, I do know when I used to rock him to sleep, I used to do the Harry Carey thing or whatever we were playing, and he would laugh butt off when he was a baby. So maybe it'll sink in one of these days. Who knows? That's why he's going to be the broadcaster, and I'm just going to ride his coattails. That's all.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I want a piece of those coattails too, as I'm playing amateur broadcaster in my basement here in the south suburbs, thinking that we're hot stuff. But speaking of hot stuff, the Cubs continue to play super well. 3 out of 4 versus Pittsburgh, some nice home cooking, and a happy Father's Day for everyone with an Ian Happ walk-off hit. It was a double dad joke, which is the perfect way to have a Father's Day win. It's Hap Daddy is what Theo Epstein used to call him. So Daddy for Father's Day, and then you can put Hap in front of Happy for Happy Father's Day. The dad joke premier writer over here. That's my dream, was a double dad joke Cub win on Father's Day.
Trademark that. I put $1 on that thing, and we can make some coin off of that. Why not?
I'm sure Obvious Shirts is already on it. We're if we thought of it, he thought of it.
Oh, yeah. Joe, if you're watching, just give us just a taste, buddy. Come on.
Exactly. So before we get rolling, make sure you are hitting that subscribe button and leaving a review on your favorite podcast app. It helps Brickheads find the show. And also, we still have our contest going on. If you are reviewing the podcast and leaving your email on Apple, then we will find you and putting hashtag Brickhead. And if you are commenting on that Instagram post, which I'll put a link in the description of this podcast, and doing all the other things that says, in the Instagram post to do, you enter your chance to win a custom Cubs jersey from Wrigleyville Sports. Plus, we're giving away a pair of Cub tickets as well. And then 10 lucky winners are getting a Bricks Behind the Ivy t-shirt. So make sure you are doing that. But subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Bleacher Bunch, the home of Cubs PS Plus, with Mike Waller, Sun Ranto with Danny Rocket, Cup of Cubby Blue with Sarah Sanchez, The Bleacher Bunch Show featuring all of us at different times, and Baseball Rabbit Hole with Michael Cotton. So subscribe today.
I think you'd look good walking around Georgia's campus with a little BBTI swag.
Gotta represent, right?
There you go. Yeah, we got to hit that.
Why the heck
You
not?
know, before it used to be TBS and WGN Superstation that got us into Georgia, but maybe it's going to be Bricks Behind the Ivy that grabs the Cub fans' hearts out
buddy.
there.
We're gonna infect Athens like the plague, pal.
we got to help Tom break even, so we got to get you some swag.
Yeah, right.
That's what we got to.
Even. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. Well, we'll get closer to even than we've ever been if we can invade Georgia with Bricks Behind the Ivy. So, guys, what did you think of this week in Cubs baseball? Anything stick out to you, or what are your thoughts on the team thus far?
Go ahead, pal.
Well, I think one thing that's definitely evident is that the starting pitching, to me, is still not there. I think they're missing that key piece, and we might see a thing at the deadline. I know there's continuous articles coming out from MLB.com about speculations about, who could we be going at over the next couple of weeks before the deadline. But I really think that we are missing a starter, and Imanaga will be coming back. I think they said that he's moving up to the AAA level today, which we'll talk about here in a bit. But I think that having one more key starter to kind of replace at that bottom end of the rotation and a closer is probably evident. But I think this week, the starting pitching did okay. Philadelphia's a tough team. They've been playing really well lately, and got roughed up a little bit. But I think that we challenged them a little bit, which was always good. And then taking 3 out of 4 in the division series is huge. And I think our starting pitching did great over that series. So that's what I got.
Yeah, and I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. We do need one more piece. And I know I've heard a couple articles, and I always reference the score. They've been having Jed Hoyer and everybody else on. They're talking about they're still looking for that one piece that's going to solidify them. Hadavi said today that possibly a return end of June, ? So that's obviously going to help. But, we just need to nail that down. The only thing that concerns me, and it was a pretty good week overall record-wise, what's concerning me is I hope to God we're not starting to see the June swoon when it comes to those bats. They're not coming through in the clutch. And honestly, that almost happened today if it wasn't for Happer's flare. But I mean, the bats have got to wake up. I mean, we've been spoiled. I mean, let's be honest. We've been spoiled in April and May of how good they were hitting consistently and putting up a ton of runs on the board. And so we were spoiled by that. So we are going to have times like this, and thank goodness we've had the pitching that's kind of solidified that past the I guess, quote unquote slump. But I think what we need to do is, get the bats going and maybe get another arm and just keep forging ahead. Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. In the month of June so far, they're hitting 227 as a team with a 278 on base, 383. They've been well above average as a group the other 3 months of the year. I mean, we can count March. There weren't many games, but 783 OPS in March, 794 in April, 771 in May, 661 here. So, and really it looks like the key is walks. They're not taking their walks like they used to. I don't know if there's been a shift in some of these hitters. There were some really hot starts. PCA's not a walk guy. Ian Happ has been slumping, who is a big walk guy. Kyle Tucker, I feel like, has been fighting something. He looks like in between at times where he was really locked in to start the year. So, I don't think this is a permanent thing for the offense. Everybody goes through this, and the Cubs had a stretch there of as much as folks want to kind of blame the offense, which, it hasn't been producing. They faced Tariq Skubal. They faced Jack Flaherty when he looked really good. They had Zach Wheeler. Like, baseball's, there's a whole component of it's when you play them, not how they're doing. And that's, the Cubs have really seen a lot of aces more than they have in lots of the stretches. So I think they need like a confidence stretch, and they're really not going to get it anytime soon with the Brewers and the Cardinals on the docket in the next few days. But I think the starting rotation, and that's what we're going to talk about. It's going to be our main topic today. Of once Imanaga comes back, who gets the boot, who's getting knocked out of the rotation. But before we do that, we do have our Wrigleyville Sports player and hitter of the week, or pitcher and hitter of the week. And Wrigleyville Sports is a Cubs souvenir and memorabilia store right across from Wrigley Field, open since 1990. They are the best store in Wrigleyville because we said so. And I put this on Twitter the other day. When you see those Rally House ads when you're watching the game on Marquee. Just remember the little guy.
Yeah.
Rally House sucks. Like, no free ads, but don't go to Rally House. Go to Wrigleyville Sports. You know, I'm going to hit them pretty hard because they supported us before we had all of you lovely brickheads. There's other sports stores I'm not going to name out of respect for Wrigleyville Sports that I still would prefer you shop at over Rally House. Support the little guy. Small businesses like Bricks Behind the Ivy make everything better. But
absolutely.
Do we want to start with the pitcher or the hitter?
Yep, your pick, pal. Flip a coin, do whatever you want.
All right, Mr. Nicholas, how about you? Who do you got for, I believe you have the pitcher of the week.
I do. And you know what? I'm going to give it to Jameson Taillon. And it's,
there you go.
He's been on a roll lately, and it continued into this game versus the Pirates this week. He went 6 1/3 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, and 7 strikeouts, improving to a 7-3 record, 3.48 ERA, and a sub-1 WHIP. Look, this guy is racking up the strikeouts as of late, and he's stringing together a lot of great outings, and especially versus a Pirates team that just swept the Phillies last week, I believe.
Wow.
They still got some great offensive pieces, and I think a lot of people undermined the talent in Pittsburgh's roster. Now, of course, I think their starting pitching and their bullpen is what's getting them into a little bit of trouble. But they still got a great team, and J-Mo didn't look like he had any trouble retiring them. I mean, seven strikeouts, tying for one of, I think, his best outings.
Quality start.
Yeah, his 6 quality start. So I'm going to give it to J-Mo this week, Jeff.
Yeah, and I agree with you, pal. I mean, honestly, to me, it's a pleasant surprise to see what he's been doing. I mean, granted, yes, we've been blessed with the Michael Boyd acquisition. We've been blessed with a little bit of Colin Ray, but to have that anchor, especially when Imanaga's out, I think that's a great pick. I think J-Mo's been a workhorse so far, and hopefully that starts, spreading elsewhere to the rest of the rotation, and at least until Shota comes back. But yeah, I honestly think a great pick. Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's excellent. Jameson Taillon. It's interesting because, there's part of me, and, I'm going to throw myself under the bus. And Pat, I think you might have been on the same page when we were talking last year. There's some interest in Taillon being dealt at the deadline.
Yeah. You and I talked about that.
And I believe we were both kind of for it because of potentially how highly valued pitching was. And this team would be lost without him. Absolutely lost. He has not gotten a ton of credit. Yeah, the home run ball is still a problem. But it's really interesting what the Cubs have done with him, and we're going to have our first Bricks Behind the Ivy nerd alert moment of the episode. Here we go. Hold on. I wasn't ready, but
nerd alert.
Nerd alert. There it is.
But the changeup is huge. The usage has been going up each month as he's got more confident in this pitch and has made his repertoire significantly better. Lance Brzezowski has talked about this a lot too, that the Cubs have been one of the only organizations that's shifting towards four-seam fastball usage where everybody else is still teaching spin. And I think it has a lot to do with the type of pitchers they have. So Matthew Boyd and Jameson Taillon have good fastballs that they can locate. So why add spin when these guys are going to lose what they're good at, and that's placing a fastball in the zone to get a strike? So yes, that pitch is technically easier to hit, but if you're sequencing it right, it's a better pitch for them. Where other guys who might have better stuff and can't control it, you want to get more spin so that when it's in the zone, it's hard to hit. So, but this changeup went from a 7.5% usage rate to start the year in April, and he's all the way up to nearly 20%, 18.7%. And it's now he uses that as a strike 3 pitch 27% of the time versus 0% of the time at the beginning of the year. And he has a 45% whiff rate in June on that pitch. That is such a story. And the expected slug and expected batting average on this thing, 195 expected batting average and 227 expected slug. That has become the best pitch he has, and this is a guy that has a plus curveball. It's awesome. It's so awesome.
And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it works, keep doing it. I know even Coom was even talking about it on the broadcast about how nasty that pitch was. And I mean, if it works, by golly, keep doing it. And I mean, if it, it's getting the job done and getting effective. And not only that, but he's been doing a lot of these pitches, and he's been taking himself deeper into the outing. So that's really saving some of our bullpen arms because, I mean, let's be brutally honest. And Jeff, you and I have talked about this, I don't know how many times. Bullpen is like the ebbs and flows of a tide of an ocean. You never know if it's going to be rough, if it's going to be good. So for him to be able to have that pitch, to work that pitch, to make him get out of innings with a fewer pitch count and go deeper into an outing, that's only going to save our arms, and it's only going to improve the entire structure of the ball club.
Oh, agreed. And like it helps all his other pitches, like his curveball on run value. Last year, because he was only like kind of an exclusively a cutter guy, like he had a 15 value cutter, which is outstanding. And this year he hasn't had to use the cutter as much, but his curveball is back to being a positive run value pitch because it has a similar release point as the changeup. So this is such a huge development. Like it really kind of pushes him up the rotation. If you were to have like the 1, 2, 3 like potential order in a rotation, like I would trust Jameson Taillon as a 3 starter at minimum in the playoffs. Like if they were to start today, like that's how good he's pitched this year for the Cubs.
You know, and one thing I definitely do want to point out is that we're moving towards a generation where velocity is the only thing that people are really caring about.
Yes.
I mean, you're seeing all of these young guys that are coming up are, you know, they're throwing 102, 103. I think there was a guy in the minors that recently just touched 106, which I don't know how is humanly possible.
He's got a cannon for an arm.
Yeah, right. But I really think what's separating, you know, Taillon from getting knocked around because his pitches aren't fast, but it's his pinpoint accuracy, and it's getting back on track from the past couple of years where he's gotten roughed up, but that changeup kind of messing up with the how fast the pitch is coming in. It's really kind of messing up the hitter's rhythm, which is helping him find success.
Well,
exactly, and it's an interesting thing about talking about teaching pitch ability versus teaching stuff, and I think we've really hit like the hierarchy of being able to teach guys stuff. But you can see these guys blowing out their arms, not being able to pitch long into games, and once the stuff kind of disintegrates, they're not able to locate, then they're not the same guy. Hopefully, you know, what Zombro's doing with this Cubs team is having the pitchability type of discussion, which is the way harder thing to teach. And I've always thought that Kyle Hendricks in the back half of his baseball life would come back to this organization and that be something that he might be extremely good at doing because he was always about game planning because of his type of stuff. But that's, I guess, a dream of one of the biggest Kyle Hendricks fans in the planet, myself. But right now, Mr. Jameson Taillon, your changeup.
Swing, swing.
You wing. There it is.
So we're going to move on to the Wrigleyville Sports Batter of the Week. And
Let's do it.
No other than our Father's Day hero, Mr. Ian Happ, Daddy Happ, as I've heard nearly 10 million times in MLB The Show, and finally got Boog Sciambi on air to respond to one of my tweets on how that nickname came to be, because I literally had never heard anyone call him Happ Daddy besides in that video game. Was so confused every time it would happen.
Every time I hear it, it's almost like Schwarzenegger. Who's your Happ Daddy?
Get the top of it now.
Now get in the chopper. But no, that's a great pick.
But he had a 455 ISO, that's slugging and average combined. So he really crushed the ball this week. Yeah. And the key for him always is walks. The guy started walking again this week. He's talked about on the compound all the time. Like once he starts taking a few walks in the row, that's when he knows he's getting locked in. And we saw that again today. Ball hasn't been traveling a ton at Wrigley, but he's still taking his walks. Got a few dingers in Philly. Just a really nice week for him, and the Cubs really needed him to get going. I feel like he's the Dexter Fowler of this team. Like when he goes, they go. He has just a great eye, and having him in front of, I know there's been some discussion about PCA leading off. I know Mark DeRosa mentioned this on MLB Network. One of the other Cub podcasts, No Free Ads, also mentioned this recently, and I just wholeheartedly disagree with moving Ian Happ on the leadoff spot because of A, how successful he's been there, and right. B, seeing those pitches is so important for Kyle Tucker. And getting PCA on base, what he does is a distraction to a player like Kyle Tucker. Like he's going to want to steal, he's going to do that. It's just not an appropriate spot. But Ian Happ is our hitter of the week. What do you guys think?
Okay, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with that. I think that he's definitely been playing better as of recently, and especially obviously this week. I've never really been a huge Ian Happ guy, but it's starting to turn around. He's really starting to get on base, which I'm really liking. And as far as moving him out of the leadoff spot, I don't know if I technically agree with putting PCA up there either. I mean, it doesn't really make sense if he's getting on base with walks, and if he's taking pitches to start a game. I don't really see why they would move him out if they know that he's going to get on base.
Yeah, I agree with that pick too. I mean, he's starting to come around a little bit. He's starting to make contact. He's actually, if you look at his at bats, there's a couple things that I've been seeing. One, he's not swinging at the bad pitches. He's been doing a little bit of old Babe Winkleman fishing and, taking cuts on that low and outside fishing swing. So he hasn't been doing that of lately. Two, he is very, very patient at the plate and got a great eye. I mean, there's been some pitches that, I'll be honest with you, some of these umpires who, you and I talked about it last week, a little Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles action, would have called strikes. He has been, with his vision, pinpoint accuracy, which is making him patient, which is making these pitchers go deeper into the count. And which, to be honest with you, that's what happened today. I mean, they went deep into the count, and then he was finally able to get that base hit to win, to score Brujan. But yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that when Happ goes, the rest of the team goes, just like we said back in 2016, when Fowler goes, team goes. So I also do agree with your comparison of him being the, I guess for lack of a better term, the 2025 version of the 2016 Fowler. Let's just hope. My only concern with that is how he does go through ebbs and flows, about he does go into a slump or whatever. So I hope that, his coffee company, which is second to Yaggy Road, by the way, it puts a little bit more espresso. Boom, there it is. Puts a little more espresso in his daily coffee as he gets to the ballpark. But I think, I think that when he starts lighting it up, it's going to make opportunities for Tucker. It's going to leave, PCA in the spot where he's at. And I've said it ever since I started this podcast with you, Jeff. That's that phrase, and I've already said it twice tonight. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If the lineup's working with the way that it is, why screw with it? It drives me nuts when managers do that. But so just leave it alone. But yeah, I agree with you. Happy with the hitter of the week.
So that is a great opportunity to mention our sponsors, Yaggy Road, which I'm going to invent this segment right now called the Yaggy Road Open Your Eyes Moment of the Week. It is a boutique coffee roaster based in Valparaiso, Indiana. That's my alma mater. Go Beacons. Yaggy is owned by 3 fellow Valpo alums, and they roast coffee as special as the moments you drink them in. And the eye-opening moment of the week, I want to talk about extra innings really quick, and then we'll move on to our main topic. But there are 2 breaking news things I feel like we can talk about live, because we are recording this when 2 very interesting things have happened this evening in baseball. But I want to talk about extra innings. So I am becoming more of a fan as the home team, if you hold the away team to no runs in the top of the extra innings, of bunting the guy over to third base. Because Absolutely. If you look at this, as if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it. But I put up the run expectancy baseball chart, and this is from 2018. But the numbers haven't changed significantly in the last few years. But this is the visual I have. But if you have no outs, the man on second base, the run expectancy is 68%. If you have 1 out with a man on third base, run expectancy is 72%. So we're rounding up. So actually, one should be 69%. Sun Ranto, we're shouting out to you at 69. And then the other one's 72%. So we're talking a 2% increase in run expectancy. I know that's not necessarily a huge thing, 2%, but baseball is such a margins game that bunt the guy to third. All you need is a ball in play, and that guy could score if the game is tied.
Ball, whatever. Yep.
What do you guys think about that? Am I insane thinking that they should bring the bunt back specifically in those situations?
I think it all depends on who's the runner on second base.
Fair point.
I understand batting him over if he's, a bit of a slower runner. But if a guy like PCA is on second base, I mean, you might as well.
That's basically third. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's basically third base. But I mean, you might as well just try to take that opportunity of getting a base hit, because if a guy that has speed is on second base and you get a ball into the outfield, he will score.
Yeah.
So you might as well take that opportunity and that extra out to try to, accomplish that. But, if you got a slower guy on second base, I totally agree. I think bunting is a great idea. Yeah.
And if you look, the Cubs have been using a lot, because we've been having a lot of extra inning games. They've been using a lot of Brujan at second.
Yeah.
Which I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, that guy's like, it reminds me of Carl Lewis in 1984 in the Olympics. That guy is fast as all fast can be. But yeah, you're right, though. I mean, if you got a guy with a refrigerator on his back at second base, then no. But in the overall spectrum, Jeff, I agree. And it's the old, statement that I've lived by since Little League: get on, get around, get in.
Yeah,
and if you're going to bump to get them over and it works, why the heck not? I agree with it.
Personally, I'm a little shocked, in all honesty, just how little Craig Counsell has done it, because I've always felt that he was kind of like the little guy's manager, and he's always had to do unique things with the Brewers, and not seeing him do it has been more surprising to me than people complaining about how often he bunts. Like, I feel like people would be very frustrated if he was bunting, but to me, this feels like such a front office analytics minded type of situation. And maybe in the playoffs, this is the mentality. Maybe you don't want to show the deck of cards right now of every time the Cubs have a runner on second, they're going to bunt. Maybe this is one of those things that they use later down the line. But it's just really interesting to me, looking, because I looked up the run expectancy, because the Cubs have had so many innings this year where I feel like, especially the away team, where they did nothing with that runner at second base, and it's what if they bunt? Put the pressure on the other team, does it change run expectancy? And I did not, pun intended, expect that the expectancy would go up with the guy on third and one out. So just an interesting food for thought. Let us know in the comments what you guys think. Are you pro or anti-bunt? And I'm guessing we're going to get a lot of anti-bunt. But if you put hashtag Brickhead under that comment, then you're entered in the contest. So win-win.
I thought we're going to have a little bit of Pat, Nick. You guys are idiots. I don't agree with it.
Yeah, you can yell at me about bunting and enter the win a Cubs jersey. It's a win-win scenario.
Yeah! You can make fun of me and get a jersey? Come on, it's a win-win.
All right, we're going to move on to two breaking news topics real quick. They're, I'm going to call them Cubs adjacent. ESPN just announced that Shohei Ohtani is starting the game tomorrow as the starting pitcher. So Shohei Ohtani is back as a rotation arm for the Dodgers, who are hungry for pitchers. They have 14 pitchers on the injured list. But what do you think? How does this change your feeling, even with all those injuries of the Dodgers and Shohei Ohtani coming back to rotation? I mean, I think we need to see him pitch, but I mean, the guy is not going to come back if he wasn't ready. He's that type of player. I feel like he's going to come out nasty. And this, to me, and they're playing the Padres. So what an awesome Monday night game that I'm probably going to tune into now. Shohei back on the mound, playing the Padres in a weirdly tight AL and a West race. What do you guys feel about that? How do you think about Shohei Ohtani coming back to pitching?
I can't really say anything about it until I see what he's got. I'm going to assess kind of what it looks like tomorrow. Is this stuff there? I will give him a little bit of, a grace period because it's his first start back, but it's always a coin toss with these Tommy John surgery, people coming back in. I mean, sometimes they have it, sometimes they don't. And, Ohtani is such a talented player that I don't think the Dodgers are going to try to overplay him. So I don't know how much they're going to pitch him versus, having him in the DH, because I mean, if they're having him play every day, whether it's pitching or DH, they're going to have to break him at some point.
Right.
So, we'll see what he has tomorrow. I'm not going to jump to any conclusions. I don't really necessarily think anything of it right now. But obviously he could absolutely shove tomorrow, and my mind is just completely changed. But Dodgers are definitely in need of some pitching help right now.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely a bonus for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that, it's also good for baseball's publicity too, because he's the center of baseball.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think that Dodger Nation would risk getting him back too early. I know he's been doing a lot of rehab. He's been doing some rehab tosses, etc. Now, and I'm probably going to get a lot of negative comments from Dodger Nation, especially my old college roommate Doug Cirillo, by saying what I'm about to say. But if he goes out and gets shelled, then that means, and he keeps getting shelled, and that means a certain gentleman by the name of P. Crow Armstrong will sneak by him for the lead in the MVP race. Not saying, just saying. But I don't think that Dodger Nation's going to rush anything. Even though the fact that it's like a mash unit over there and everybody seems hurt on their rotation. They're still hanging around. They're still going to hang around. They're going to hang around all season. So it's like, why rush them? So they must, behind the scenes, like what they see. I'm kind of with Nick. Great minds think alike. I'm glad I couldn't say I passed it on to him. It's his mom. But anyway.
That's my kids too.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah. But yeah, I honestly think that, we'll wait and see. Proof is in the pudding, as my grandfather used to say. And we'll see how he does. I wholeheartedly think he's going to do a pretty decent job. Might be rusty in the beginning, but it's Ohtani, and no matter what he does, that's the thing with him. He can go out, give up 2 runs in an inning at the top of the inning, and then come in and hit a 3-run homer and just fixed his own mistake.
Yeah, that's fair. He's a unicorn.
Used to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so he's a unicorn. I think it's interesting he's not coming from a rehab start or anything. He's just going in, and maybe this is a lot to do with absolutely need for the Dodgers right now. Whatever he can give them is better than some of the other options they have, and instead of having him do a rehab start, they'll have him throw his inning in the majors. Or he is more ready than we know. And I think that'll be an interesting question. We'll find out tomorrow because I just don't see Shohei Ohtani as someone who's going to go out there and gamble if he doesn't think he has his best stuff. But I also can see, this feels like a wishy-washy answer, but I could see the Dodgers are in such need of pitchers anyway that a body and then doing a bullpen game is a better situation than the option of whoever they were going to have start potentially anyway. So we'll see what happens. All right, I do want to touch really quickly on this other big baseball news also in the NL West. Rafael Devers traded from the Boston Red Sox tonight to the San Francisco Giants for Jordan Hicks, old Cardinals nemesis, and tried to convert starter back to bullpen, really expensive bullpen piece now, and Kyle Harrison and 2 other prospects. Giants are taking on the entire rest of the 8-year contract, about $29.5 million. Really weird. There is some news out there saying that the Red Sox didn't shop him. They went straight to San Francisco and didn't budge. So this, people were comparing it to Luka Doncic, and I was like, that's kind of weird. I guess it's a very major shit, but the not shopping him thing, just like with Luka Doncic, it is really bizarre now. Now I'm just waiting for the ping pong ball to fall to the Giants, the first round pick next year. So that's a complete parallel. But yeah, I guess my first question for the two of you, and I'll respond as well, is would you have wanted the Cubs in on the conversation on this if it was possible? And the second question is, do you think this elevates a pretty solid Giants squad enough that the Cubs should be concerned about them as a team that they could compete against in the playoffs?
Now, about 2 months ago, I'd have been upset.
Yeah,
but I've been seeing that kid that they just called up, Mr. Matthew Shaw.
Shaw some sauce.
As I like to call for my former favorite Blackhawk, Shawzy. The plays that he has been making, sweet mother of pearl, it has been looking awesome. The bare hand throw that he had yesterday and everything, he's been doing really good. And I think because if you remember months ago, even into the preseason, he was rumored to be coming here via trade, via free agent, via whatever. So the fact
it's been connected to the Cubs for a long time because of the front office groups 100%. Had recruited him originally in Boston that.
Absolutely. And now the fact that, but I think that, we've solidified the defense in the infield and Shaw's bat's now starting to turn around. I think that I'm not upset by it at all. I'm actually relieved that he's not going to an NL Central team.
Yeah, that's
We're still
fair.
going to have to see him when we play San Francisco, but I'm kind of, relieved that he's not there. But yeah, I'm not upset at all, buddy. What do you think?
I'm a little upset. And
what?
I am a little upset, and I don't know if I fully agree with you on the Matt Shaw thing.
What? Come on now.
Matt Shaw's got a lot of room to improve, and I think that his ceiling is high. And there's always going to be that buffer zone where you start in the majors, and it might take a while for you to get going. We saw that with PCA when he first came up.
True story. No, I got it.
Now look where he's gone. But I mean, in the past couple games, he's literally gone 0 for 13. So I really don't think his bat's there. And that's not to say his defense is great. I think he could be a future Gold Glove candidate, no problem at all. He's been making it look easy at third base. But I also don't think that the Giants are paying him for defense. I think they're definitely paying him for his bat. I mean, he's been hot recently. And there's been a lot of rumors kind of swirling around with him in Boston that their relationship has not been great lately. And I 100% think that with that kind of being in mind, there had to have been something internally that set them off to kind of want to dump him. And I think taking on that huge contract, which I wasn't even aware of until just now that they're taking on that 8 years, that's just insane to me. Yeah. And I really think that the Giants won that trade.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, and like the Giants have been circling the big free agents for years and haven't been getting anyone to land on. Like they got Arson Judge from as John Heyman's famous tweet, or no, that was Nightingale, I think. And then they were trying to get Carlos Correa and he failed the medicals, like that whole thing. Mm-hmm. So like they've needed a star. They've been willing to spend money. This is a way to get one, and like good for them for pulling the trigger. I think. I had talked to Cole Wright in one of our episodes. This is a nice flashback moment for me about how interested I would have been in that conversation for Devers, like if it wasn't already for like say a Suzuki. Like to me, Devers is strictly a DH, but I would have been able to manage him as a third baseman this season or in the next few seasons because I didn't think the Cubs like prospects at third base were necessarily that great, and the bat was too good to think about passing up. I agree offensively with you, Nick, on I've been a little underwhelmed of late of Matthew Shaw. There seems to be a constant, like a conscious effort from the major leagues. They know he likes it the opposite way, so they're really, really pushing him inside. And I think he's still sitting to look opposite field early in the approach. And then when he is getting those inside pitches, he's crushing them foul. And that, like, at some point, I think that turns... Craig Counsell apparently has a reputation. This was something I read on Marquee and something they've talked about in Northside territory with Sahadev Sharma and Patrick Mooney. He thinks that if you can pick it like it defensively, if you bring it every day defensively, that he can overlook offensive struggles of young players. So like Matt Shaw's got the reins. The question will be is what can he take enough strides offensively, adjust to what the league's doing to him, in which they don't address it in a specific way by a trade deadline. That is what I'll be continuing to monitor. I think he's been, serviceable at like as a player. The defensive value has increased significantly in the last few weeks. He has looked like a completely different player over there. I follow this guy called TJ Stats. His name's Thomas Nestico. He does a lot of like statistic graphics for baseball. If you're not following him, he's on Twitter as @TJ Stats, and he had a graphic up, from June 13th about defensive run saved leaders at third base, and Matt Shaw's 7th at +4. And that's with significantly less reps than every player on that list. So like he really has done the work. To be a solid defensive third baseman, I need more from the bat. Like I really do. And especially when the offense has been struggling, Carson Kelly's been struggling. Some of the guys that like really floated the bottom of the lineup, like Miguel Amaya has been hurt. Like I think those pieces were helping the Cubs more than we realize. So like it's been frustrating when the offense, like Dansby and them cool down and Ian Happ cool down and Kyle Tucker hasn't been otherworldly and Seiya Suzuki is really good in some situations and then weirdly awful in the same situation from at bat to at bat. So, yeah, I really need more out of Matt Shaw. And I think, given what they gave up for Devers, like, to me, it feels like that would be giving up, like, I don't know, maybe Taillon, Jordan Wicks, and 2 ancillary not great prospects. and you get one of the top bats in the game for this lineup, and then you're talking about the middle of the order. That's Kyle Tucker, Seiya Suzuki, Rafael Devers. Like that puts you in the upper echelon. And Devers is only 28. You don't have Tucker locked up. This guy would be locked up at a rate that would be in the Ricketts ballpark of under 30 million instead of the 40 million a year we're going to see for Tucker. So there's a lot of things that. Obviously, I've thought about this a lot in the 2 hours this news has been out. So it's well, and that's why I have a podcast, because otherwise I'd be up all night thinking this to myself.
I mean, and maybe I'm just being optimistic about it too. And, I've been doing this.
Hey, that's Sean Chapin's thing, optimistic Cubs fan. You stay in your lane, sir.
What I'm hoping is the other reason why, excuse me, that they didn't do it is because, and again, I might be in the land of sunshine and lollipops, but the reason why that they didn't do it is they're putting all their eggs in another starter basket at the free agent deadline.
Yeah, no, that's what they need more than anything.
And that's what I'm hoping. And hey, Jed, Tommy, if you're watching, because I know you guys watch BBTI.
Of course they do.
You
They're
guys
huge
need
fans.
to get a picture, but yeah, and that's what I'm kind of hoping that they're doing. It's funny you're talking about all these acquisitions, because all I got is one message, especially for my buddy Keith, up a little bit north of 994. Hey guys in Brewer Nation, have fun with Andy Vaughn. Sweet mother of pearl, did you get snowed? But yeah, what
a weird trade.
Like I said, that's what I'm hoping that the Cubbies are doing. Is they're just putting all their eggs in the starting pitching basket and hoping that lineup 1 to 9 that we saw in the month of April, and I'd say a good 3 weeks of the month of May comes back, and I think it will, as long as we don't have the historical June swoon that I've been dealing with since '82 going to the ballpark. But yes,
they're still 8-6 this month, so like
they're doing fine.
Even the 16 team, like, and part of June. Yeah, there was a part of June into July for the 16 team. They went 5-15. So, like, it's going to happen. Every team, it happens. Like,
100%.
But, yeah.
If you look, though, at the beginning as far as with April and the beginning and about half of May to now, we're 8-6. We're doing good. But these games are getting a lot tighter. A lot of extra inning games, a lot of squeakers, a lot of nail biter. And again, that's going to happen. In a 162-game season, that's going to happen. But that's why I think that they needed to start solidifying some of the holes that they've got. And you and I have been talking about for weeks. And, hopefully that they go ahead and they get the job done.
Oh, this is a perfect transition to our next topic and our big topic of the day. So May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. Big holiday in this house as a huge Star Wars nerd. Another. But ultimately, that's when Shota Imanaga went down with the hamstring injury. So we've been over a month without Shota, which is, reasonable given the type of injury. Maybe the Cubs are being cautious. Who knows, but they need him so badly. I don't care if they're being cautious, because if they're going to do something this year and, move into October in a meaningful way, like, they need Shota Imanaga healthy.
Yeah.
But since then, Colin Ray has been pushed into the rotation. The Cubs called up Cade Horton and, Ben Brown, who has had, kind of a wishy-washy, stretch. He's been either really, really good or really, really bad. And it's really been frustrating, I think, for a lot of Cubs fans. They're the guys that have had to step up. So the question I'm going to ask today, and, I'm going to lead off because I did an embarrassing amount of research, which is worthy of another.
Bingo!
About this topic, because we're coming up on, Shota Imanaga is supposed to have a rehab start in Iowa on Friday. He's doing a side session tomorrow in Iowa, so he's with the team. He's going to be starting in games. I don't know if he's going to have one rehab start or two, but we're looking at him coming back in the next week or so. So someone's got to get moved out. And, I thought about the idea of a 6-man rotation, especially if you're going to keep Cade Horton in there. But when you're only allowed to have 13 pitchers on the roster, that's just not a valuable use of that 13th pitcher, because there are going to be situations, and like the Cubs have some off days in there in which like a 6th man isn't really going to help them lengthen these things. They're going to need a swing man more than they're going to need a 6th man in the rotation. So the candidates for removal from the rotation are the same 3 I mentioned before: Horton, Brown, and Ray. So I'm going to give you guys some numbers to kind of help you with your decision and what helped me with my decision. So I looked at the performance of Ray, Brown, and Horton since May 4th, so that everybody was kind of in the same group. It's not like overweighting maybe better performance prior to May 4th. It's completely what they've done since the show has gone out. And yeah, the ERAs will alarm you. So Ben Brown has had a 7.59 ERA in that stretch. Colin Ray has a 6.47 ERA, and then Cade Horton is just like lapping the bunch at a 3.71. He's had 5 starts in that time. Ray's had 6, and Ben Brown's had 6. And this, I believe I did this research right before Cade Horton's really nice start the other night. So like he would have a 6 start and that ERA would go down. Yeah, so like really, I feel like it comes down to if the Cubs are going to use Cade Horton's innings until they trade for another pitcher or however it is, like Cade Horton is locked for me in this rotation. So it comes down to Ben Brown and Colin Ray. And what I looked at next is one of the things that I have been harping on with this team all season. The Cubs do not have enough strikeout stuff to be a serious contender in the playoffs. They have the 4th lowest strikeout rate as a pitching group in all of baseball. So that puts them at 26. You cannot leave it up to the bat pip gods in October. There's too much on the line and such a small sample size. So you need guys that strike people out. Ben Brown has a 27.3% strikeout rate. Colin Ray has a 19.1% strikeout rate. So for me, for 2 reasons beyond the strikeout rate, I'm booting Colin Ray. Colin Ray was a swingman for the Brewers. He was excellent in that role. He pitched for them as a starter. He was able to work out of the bullpen. It's an extremely difficult role. We saw the Cubs struggle to get Hayden Wesneski to do it because he was young. He was still establishing himself as a pitcher. You can't ask a guy to stretch out to be a starter and then to be your 9th inning guy like they did last year when there was a bunch of injuries. Like they had to do it. They had to try something, and it just didn't work. He wasn't ready. He wasn't prepared to like warm himself up that way. Colin Ray seems to like be like a Swiss Army knife. It's what they signed him for. So he has the most experience in doing that. And the reason why I would keep Ben Brown in the rotation is once you unstretch Ben Brown, similar to Hayden Wesneski, I don't think you can stretch him back out. And with Jordan Wicks struggling with some injuries in command in AAA, Javier Assad also struggling with some injuries. He should be apparently ramping it up before the end of this month. You can't afford in this immediate moment to find out that like you shouldn't have unstretched a guy out. And like I think Colin Ray can still provide that as having dealt with that in his career. Yes, the performance has been wishy-washy. It's been either atrocious or great. Maybe do the opener thing with him again because that seemed to work out with him the one time. Maybe you try that out and see if that's how like I don't mind Drew Pomeranz starting a game if we get 6 innings of like 7 or 8 strikeouts from Ben Brown and like 1 hit. Like that's what we have to do. That's what we have to do for time being. Like we're surviving until they add something meaningful to this rotation. But yeah, Colin Ray is the guy that I'm kicking out of the rotation. What do you guys think? Do you have a counter? Are you mad at this opinion?
Hey, pal.
Yeah, I actually agree with you, Jeff. I would vote to kick Colin Ray out and probably put him in as a middle relief. I think Ben Brown, at least from my standpoint in the past couple of weeks, it's either he's on it and he's doing great, or he's getting absolutely shelled on the mound and it looks like a war's going on the field.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that you can't really take Cade Horton out. You know, he's still pretty young. I think that, some of his outings haven't been necessarily his fault. I think that he could probably work on some of his pitch movement and location. But again, he's a rookie pitcher. He's only made 6 starts now with the team.
And you just picked him up in your fantasy team.
I did also just pick him up in my fantasy team too. So
that is the most important thing.
I have to believe in him. He has to do good now. But no, really, I mean, I think that you kind of keep him in for now to kind of see what he's got. He hasn't been doing horrible. I mean, there's the 1 or 2 outings that he got knocked around a bit, but besides that, I mean, he got hit for 1 run a couple times. But I would definitely kind of keep Ben Brown in, especially if he has higher strikeout numbers. You need a guy who can kind of stand on the mound and strike guys out.
And Nick, I agree with you. And for all that you said, and then to add to that, if you're going to put somebody down in the bullpen, you're going to need somebody that has got the experience. And Jeff, you touched on that of what Colin Ray did up in Milwaukee. To be brutally honest with you, I'm not even looking at this from, a rotation standpoint. I'm looking at this from a bullpen standpoint. So I'm looking at this and picking between Ray and Brown. I don't trust Ben Brown to go into the bullpen. I want a guy that's been there, that's held that role of middle relief, long relief, eighth inning relief, whatever the case might be. I want a guy in there that's experienced, because a lot of these times when they're bringing these guys in, it's not because you're up 7-0. It's because you're up 3-2, 2-1, and it's a high leverage situation. And to be brutally honest, I don't trust Ben Brown in that situation if he's coming out of the pen. I would trust Colin Ray more. Why? Because he's got the veteran leadership. He's been there before, and he can make the pitches count at a high leverage situation, in my opinion, more than Ben Brown. So I think it's a full sweep between the three of us of Colin Ray, and that's how I would go. And hey, everybody watching this right now, put down in your comments, let us know, who do you think, and maybe we're missing somebody. Maybe y'all think that it could be Cade Horton, and you can think that the three of us are just the three amigos. Hey, but that we get the answer wrong. Good. Put your comments in down there. Let me think.
It's also super valuable. It's also super valuable to have a big pitching mix in the bullpen. Yeah, I think a lot of the newer relievers only have like 3 pitches, and having a guy that has like more than 3, like 4 or 5, it can really throw them off. So I think Colin Ray is definitely the right choice in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think, I do imagine a scenario based on what we've seen, like just him coming out of the pen, and especially in that like opener situation where like Ben Brown in a situation could fit because of the velocity and the uniqueness of his curveball in the bullpen later in the season. My argument will continue to be, though, for this moment, the Cubs really want to know what they have in Ben Brown. They really need to know what they have in Ben Brown.
Put up or shut up time.
It's really important for them to address the pitching staff. Like, no one's going to disagree with that either. And like, to me, the dream scenario is you get enough pitchers that you push him out, and then if he really gets good, you find a role. Like right now, he has a role because bodies, like they need someone to cover innings, and like he has a lot of upside, and I still believe in the long-term vision. But he really needs a dominant third pitch for lefties. Like, he's been working in a changeup. Apparently, he's working on exactly Jameson Taillon's kick change, and he's been using it a little bit more. But like the fastball curveball thing, there are guys that are successful with that. Justin Steele's an example of like a 2-pitch pitcher, but he's not a 2-pitch pitcher. He has a unique fastball shape. He manipulates his finger location on that to make it cut a little bit and sometimes be a little straight. And he does the same thing with his curveball slider. He manipulates the finger and the speed, but like, that's not a 2-pitch pitcher. He's doing different things with it. Like that's what's made him successful. But I thought we would have like a harder debate about that, but like maybe my research was really, really good. That's what I'm going to go with.
I think I just know great minds think alike. That's and if that's the case, then I apologize to you, and I apologize to you, because I don't want to lump myself, because you guys are the smarter ones. I'm just here for I don't know why the hell I'm here. But I think so. But like I said, hey, BBTI Nation, let us know what you think.
Yeah, and I think that's a good place to leave it for for tonight. The Cubs have a tough stretch starting. Not tough as much as like we're gonna learn a lot about what the NL Central is gonna look like this week. Because we see the Cardinals for the first time next week, and we see the Brewers at Wrigley for the first time this year. First Bleacher game for Nicholas over there on Tuesday night. So if you do see the BBTI boys out there in the bleachers, make sure you give them a big old hug.
Bleachers, buy this big beer. He's 21 now, so we'll be celebrating.
There you go. Yes, make sure you're gripping that edge. We don't need a Pittsburgh Pirates situation. Stay safe out there. That's why we have baskets. But that like don't find out that they catch people. Like just be curious if they catch people. Don't learn. No, first-hand experience is not needed. I know your dad's a paramedic, but like let's calm down. What
this team's made of.
This has been another episode of Bricks Behind the Ivy, your place for all Cubs news, discussion, and fan reaction. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, that like button, commenting the bejesus out of this video, reviewing on your podcast platforms, entering the contest to win a free Cubs jersey, which is awesome. So check us out today, and until next time, from all of us here at BBTI, to all you brickheads, go Cubs.
Go Cubbies!